the States, Harry Truman. I got this when I got out of the service. I think most servicemen got them. I pass around, take a look at it. It's, I think most servicemen had them sent to them. We had this one thing I hadn't mentioned before. We got a commendation from Admiral Nimitz. I had a letter of commendation from him, which I'm trying to get a copy of right now, because I lost my copy. I get it out of Washington. I'm waiting to see if I'll get it. It's a letter of commendation that we all in the crew got it for hauling ammunition to the beach. The Marines were running out of ammunition, and they had to have a volunteer ship to carry ammunition in, because one hit and you're done, because you're loaded with ammunition. And we went out and we carried ammunition in for 2 days. And every time we get in almost to shore, mortar attacks would start, we had to back off, and we get in, they'd unload, and we get out, go to another load and bring it back. Just took a chance. If you got hit, well, the whole ship was going to blow up. But we were fortunate we didn't get hit, and we only did it for about a couple of days, and somebody else did it. But a lot of things happened. The people that I knew, we carried the 4th Marines in at Saipan, Atinya. We carried them in at Iwo Jima, and I got acquainted with one guy I always remember, and Johnny, and after the fighting got over the hill at Iwo Jima, we were carrying casualties back to the hospital ship, bringing ammunition in or whatever, and we were picking up casualties one day, and they brought the stretchers in, put them on deck, and we were taking them to the hospital ship, and one of them was Johnny, old buddy Marine. I'd taken him twice, and his hand was blown off here, except for the back part, and they put it back over on his arm and field dressed it, and he was laying on a stretcher. We took him to the hospital. Well, the next day we were bringing casualties back out to the hospital ship again, and I seen Johnny. He had his arm in a sling. He kind of went like that, to me. And I didn't think of it. I waved at him. That's the last time I saw him out in the Pacific. And I came back to the States, got discharged, and I couldn't get a job here in Indiana, so I went to Dayton, Ohio, and got a job at NCR. And that's before I was married. I had a date one night. I took her out to the movie out there on North Main Street. I was coming out of the movie theater, and there's Johnny walking in. I hadn't seen him for probably 2.5, 3 years since Pacific. And he was from Cincinnati originally, but he was living in Dayton then. I didn't know it. And shook hands with me. He had his hand. Shook hand. 90% usage of his hand. And whoever field dressed him had tied all the tendons back and so forth. Take him out from they were able to retie and reconnect all that up. He had 90% usage of that hand. That's amazing. You what?
Was it a good thing that field dressed it?
Oh yeah, they wouldn't have done field. He'd lost his hand. They did it right. You wonder, even back then, technology that long ago, you wouldn't think it would have been that good.
Yeah.
Boy, it was.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. When you stop and think about it, it really, really is awesome. We, our way back from Okinawa to get repairs, did I tell you that? We had a Jap sub attack us. And we were in a flotilla of 12 ships with 2 destroyer escorts, gunships. And we were moving about 18 knots, and we couldn't move 18 knots because we had our bow blown off, and we had to repair, and the water was coming up and across the deck, and we had to cut out the back of the ship, let the water go on back off. So we were really half submerged going across the ocean. And you lay down there at night, that water, about 2 or 3 foot of water is going right over you the whole time. But they left us, told us we were expendable, and they couldn't wait on us because we were moving too slow. And we were subject to sub attack. Well, that night a sub came after us, and they moved in on us all night, not knowing what we were. But they had bigger guns than we did, so in the morning it surfaced, and they surfaced about a quarter mile from us. We could see them getting out of the conning tower, getting their guns uncovered, and they kept moving in on us, because the biggest thing we had was a 40 millimeter gun, and the 50 caliber machine guns, which wouldn't touch them. They had 3 and 4 inch guns. Well, we had radioed ahead, told them they'd turned the 2 escorts back, and they were getting ready to open fire on us. These 2 escorts came back through the morning mist. They jumped it back in the sub. Down they went. The 2 escorts went over them, dropped about 6-8 cans in the air, depth charges, and blew them right in half. Good sub right in half. Which we were particularly left over that. Saved us, because we knew they'd machine gun us. And, if you got a life raft, they'd machine gun you. And so they saved our little rear ends. That's all I can say about that. But a lot of things happen. Told you about the carrier Franklin. I'm running out of things to say here.
What do you mean by 18 knots? What's that mean?
Well, that's our speed.
How fast?
Well, see, 18 knots would be 22 mile an hour. About 22 mile an hour. We couldn't move that fast, though. But the slower you move, the more prone you are for sub-attack. That's all there is to it. I mean, it's the way it is. Iwo Jima was all caves, and fighting was underground. These are flags I got there, Iwo Jima. These are Japanese battle. This is a Japanese battle flag here. I found that in a cave there, and this is a commandant's flag, a commander's flag is what that is. They're getting kind of old and discolored, but they're. I brought them back just to have them, Here's a picture here of Marines skirmishing in action. After they've gotten landed off the beach, they're skirmishing across the land there. That's an actual photo. The island itself is, like I think I told you, it was 2.5 miles, a mile and a half. There was, in 36 days of fighting, there was 25,851 U.S. casualties.
Wow.
1 in every 3 men were killed that came on the island.
Did you ever get hurt?
No. Closest I came was, we had a mortar attack, and I was standing on deck looking towards the beach, and there was my executive officer here, a Marine looking at me, and a Marine over here, and we was 4 officers standing there talking. I was on gangway, this was a 45, on gangway, watching people going off the ship. And a mortar hit behind the Marine across from me.
What's a mortar?
It's a silent bomb, is what it is. You don't hear them coming. When they hit, you hear them. You don't hear them coming. And it's a ground explosion. When it hits, it doesn't make a hole. It cleans everything out. And luckily, it hit behind him. My exec officer was standing here, and a piece of shrapnel went right through his chin. And the soldier, or the Marine standing over to my right, it hit him right here in the guts. His guts fell out on the deck, which we picked him back up, stuffed him in him, and took him on and put him on a stretcher, and they took him to the hospital ship. And the fellow was back to the mortar, and myself, looking right at him, neither one of us was touched. Shrapnel went both ways around us. Didn't touch us.
Lucky guys.
No, I mean, that's what I'm saying, that's all. Very lucky. But the guy the Marine, the guy's guts, and they took him to the hospital ship, took his organs out of him, cleaned them, put them back in him, sewed him up. He was fine. He's fine. Yeah.
You found like Japanese guns and stuff on.
Oh yeah.
And stuff. Did you keep them?
Oh yeah. I had about 4 Japanese rifles I picked up on the beach, took them back, put them on board ship, and I sold them to the merchant guys, merchant marines that would bring food on food ships, they'd want them. We'd sell them to them for $100. Well, we make the bucks off them.
So you can keep them if you want them?
Huh?
Like you can keep them?
Yeah. I brought my own gun home. Was issued to me as it's a 30 caliber M1 carbine. I have it yet, and I have my bayonet. And I've got my fighter helmet, which I took a couple of hits on when I was taking people into the beach. But
Yeah, hit in the head.
huh?
Oh, his helmet.
Well, the helmet, yeah. Well, yeah. What's those helmets are for?
You don't act like it's that big of a deal.
Huh?
Said you don't act like it's that big of a deal.
Well,
At the
it hits you
time,
feeling
at the time, what was your reaction when you got?
scared.
Okay, yeah.
Scared. You don't ever get over being scared. But I think the younger you are, the less apt you are to be scared. The older men were more scared than us young guys because we didn't have enough brains to know we shouldn't be scared.
Tell about the night the guy got on your ship.
Oh, we had a Jap soldier. He evidently swam out the ship and got on board. We don't know how he got on. He must have had a rope with a hook or something, but he got on board the ship. And we were in our sleeping compartment that night, and we heard a 45 go off before we were in the sleeping compartment. So we all rushed up the ladder and went down and see what was going on. And a Jap soldier got on board the ship, stabbed about 6 or 7 of our guys in their bunks, and the officer of the day was walking through there and seen him, took his 45, put him away. That was the gunshots we heard. But, the guy could have gotten in our sleeping compartment. It could have been one of us. You never know. We're lucky. Very
Killed
lucky.
how many people?
None of them died. He wasn't that good, evidently. He just stabbed him. I don't know what his point was. None of them died.
How many did he stab?
I think either 6 or 7 he stabbed. But he didn't kill him. So he wasn't too proficient at his job.
I didn't have enough time
Sleeping
to stab
is-
72, 60
Oh, he sleeps in
Huh?
the
No, 6 or
Oh,
7.
I thought he said 60.
No, 6 or 7. No, that could be done real quick, but he didn't do a very good job. We're thankful for that. Seasick, people talk about Navy, seasick. It's a lot of bunk. If you go out there and you eat your meals, you won't get seasick. We used to get replacements on board. Guys transferred off, new guys come in and say, hey now, don't miss a meal. This is what I mean. You go to sea, don't miss a meal. Eat every meal. Oh, well, I started to say, wheezy, I'm not getting it. That's when you'll get sick. Eat every meal. The guys who quit eating, they get sick. Invariably. The guys who quit eating, they get sick. I have no explanation as to why. I have no idea. You'd think just the opposite. Food on their stomach.
I went on a deep sea fishing trip and I got seasick out there. And I didn't think I would, but I didn't eat all day, and I made sense. All I did was drink some fluids. That's all, and I got sick.
Got sick?
Yeah.
No,
I don't want to say Coke because there was
No,
everything, a bunch of stuff. I got sick.
Crazy. This was really crazy.
Tell about your brothers and everything.
Fluid.
Well, I had 4 brothers who were in the service with me. I was the youngest of 5. I had a brother who was Patton's 3rd Army. He was a captain. I had a brother who was an MP in France. I had a brother who was a plane mechanic, aircraft mechanic in Alaska. And then another one who flew P-38 fighter planes in the Pacific.
On a fire plane.
And we all came home, though. We all came home after the war. We're lucky.
My brother just went to the army.
Do you have any sisters?
My brother just went to the army.
Oh, you did? What part?
I don't know. I think he's going to Iraq. I don't know.
Well, that's a different thing over there.
Yeah, I know.
It's a different thing. You're fighting it. But, a lot of people, don't get me wrong, I don't advocate war. I'm not here to tell you that. I'm here to tell you about my experience in the war and what I know about it. But as far as Iraq's concerned, I'd much rather have them fighting over there than here.
Do you have any?
That's all I can say about that.
Do You don't have any thought, like, you don't agree or disagree with it, you know?
Well, no, I agree with it, because I agree with it in this respect. They're fighting over there and they're not fighting here. Because if we don't fight them there, they're going to be here. We've already had a taste of that in New York City, what they can do. And there'll be more done if we don't fight them. I'm convinced of it. We live in a country that I've told the other classes, I'll tell you, our people myself, you're living in a country where I can stand here and talk to you about these things, and you can sit there and ask me questions about these things. There's not very many countries in this world where you can do that. You got to realize that. You have freedom. That's a lot more than they have in most countries in the world. Probably 99% of the countries in the world don't have it. But you have it here. And that's why we're over there fighting that thing. You keep it over there, not here. But I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But nothing I personally can do about it. But, I just still rather have it over there than here. But if we don't have it over there, we're going to have it here. That's all I can say. And that's been proven already. It's not because I say that. It's already been proven. So you got to look at what's happened, and it's not good.
Who in here is doing their project on World War II?
Raise your hand.
Any questions that you have related to your project that you'd like to ask?
They can use him as an interview.
Too bad I got the camera.
What are you working on? Are you working on the more European war or Pacific War?
So,
Or both? European? Yeah, I think there's more work done on that really than the Pacific. Because I always think that Germany was more of a world threat than Japan was. And so I think there's always more emphasis put on that. Which I agree with. I think it's one thing I didn't mention was women. The important part they played in World War II, and a lot of people play that down, but it's really shouldn't be played down because you know the B-17 bombers that bombed Germany from England. You know they had them bombing Germany year after year. You know how those B-17 bombers got to England? Women flew them there. They ferried those bombers across the U.S. In fact, we have a woman living in Indianapolis who ferried 33 of those bombers, flew them over to Germany, so that our pilots could bomb Germany with them.
What's about the gas rationing and the food?
Oh, yeah, we had gas rationing. You had to have stamps to buy a gallon of gas. You had to pay for it. Gas was 18 cents a gallon.
So what did you need gas for?
You had to have a stamp if you wanted to buy it.
And we're talking about, okay,
Every stamp.
clarify to them that who was doing it, who was the rationing affecting? It wasn't you in the military.
Oh no, it was a civilians at home.
Yeah.
Your gas was rationed. You could only buy. You got stamps for every month, and you could just buy so much gas. And for every gallon of gas you bought, you had to have a stamp for it. When I came home on leave, I had to go and get gas stamps if I wanted to drive a car, and I was allowed so many. But gas was 18 cents a gallon. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Was the baby boomer, or was that after World War II? That baby boomer?
Baby boomers after World War II, yeah.
So, yeah, okay.
But food rationing, funny part of it was, food ration, you could only go and buy. I mean, my mother went to the grocery and she could buy maybe 2 steaks, or so many pounds of ham, or this or that. That's all. She had ration stamps for that. That's all you were allowed. And you made up whatever you canned and everything else at home. Through your gardens and so forth. And but the funny part of that was, I always did laugh at this, if you went to Canada or if you went to Hawaii, you could go in and buy all the hams you wanted to buy. They were U.S. hams. But they were rationed in the U.S.
Why did
That's
they do that?
crazy.
What was the reason for that?
Food ration, I don't know. I have no idea. It's just,
Did that not make you upset that you went over and you were fighting for our rights, and then you got to come back and you can only get a certain amount of gallons of gas?
no, it didn't bother me at all.
That made me
It
upset.
didn't bother me at all. I figured that's the way it was, and that's what I do. I always went along with it because I always figured I had the world with a tail, just like you guys have. I mean, everything's here for you. All you got to do is take advantage of it, learn, and go out and do it. It's there. I mean,
Food rationing limited just certain things that you could get?
yeah.
So
Meat, and like breakfast cereal and things like that you can pretty much get. But meat and vegetables were pretty prevalent. A lot of people did a lot of gardening back then too, raising their own things. Even when I was a young person, we used to, we lived out of a fruit cellar. We didn't go out and buy groceries all the time. Grew our own potatoes, and things have just changed, that's all. Different world. But there was a lot of sacrifices, and I will say this. World War II brought women to the prominent place they are in this country today. Because we had shipbuildings, we had bombers being built, fighter planes being built, and women were doing that. Matter of fact, I think I said before, I think it was the ratio of workers in plants, in aircraft plants and shipbuilding, was 6-4 women doing the riveting and putting ships together and planes together. It was women doing it, 6-4 over men, because the men were in the service. And that's what killed the housewife theory in the U.S. Women went to work in World War II, and they've stayed to work ever since.
Was there a draft for World War II?
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, they drafted. As soon as you're 18, you were going to be drafted if you didn't join. That's why I joined. I wasn't drafted. I wanted to go where I wanted to go. But I think it took back in that time, it took everybody to make war a success. Any other
Need a
questions?
draft today?
Huh?
You think we need a draft today?
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm for it 100%.
No.
I don't think it should have to stay in more than a year, but I think every young man coming out of high school went for a year. Oh, I tell you, did me more good than it did bad. I learned a lot of things that year. I had some hard knocks, but I'll tell you, when I come out, I don't think it's just men anymore. I think it's just important for women to have that too. It's a changing world. They're just as important as the men are. I mean, women that can prove, they've proved. I've been in business for 39 years. I run into women all the time in business. My God, there's some pretty smart cats out there. It's not just men. It's women too. And so they've got their place. They've got more so than they've ever had it.
So you said when you got out of the military, you got out of service. You went and worked at a RNA or?
Oh, NCR in Dayton,
Yeah.
Ohio. Yeah.
What's that? What was that? They didn't,
National Cash Register.
did they give you they didn't give you job placements like they do today?
Oh no, I just got a job and I was a straightener. You know what keys are on a cash register? You
Yeah.
know, and they have you have a stem that goes down in the machine. I took those and I straightened them before they put them in the machine. Make sure they were perfectly straight. My job, I was a straightener, and I did that for about a year and a half. And they came to me one day and said, "Would you like to train for the sales?" And I said, "Yeah." So they put me in school, and they sent me to Indianapolis, and they put me in Bloomington. Indianapolis always put me in Bloomington on the IU campus, and I serviced their business machines. I did that for about a year, and then they came in. They had a big layoff, and I was in the layoff. I got laid off, and so I took a job with them. When I got married, I was driving a Coke truck, going to IU at night, or IU Purdue Extension at night, and driving a Coke truck in the daytime. I had Route 31 all the way to the end, down to Franklin, or the city of Franklin, back up the other side of 31. Every day, that's what it did.
What'd you make an hour when you first started at that? What'd you make an hour when you first started the
Well,
gas restaurant?
at Coke, I made $135 a week. That was pretty good money back then. That's pretty good, but I was throwing 400 cases a day full, so I had to put them on the truck, throw them off, put the empties back on the truck, and throw the empties off when I got back in. So I was really throwing about 1,600 cases a day. But I was hard as a rock then, man. I could pick up a case of small Cokes. You know what the small Cokes are?
Yeah.
That's what they had back then.
Yeah.
And I could pick up a case of them, put my thumb through the handle, my hand around the bottle, and I could pick up a case, just pick it up like that, put it right up there on the truck, just like that. Weighed 40 pounds. I couldn't do that now. But I messed around, worked for other people for several years. Then, when I was 40 years old, I started my own business.
What's that?
Auburn Plastics, on the northeast side.
Hiring?
Huh?
You hiring?
Oh, not right now. Shadeland Avenue.
3 weeks.
Shadeland Avenue.
3 weeks. I graduate. I'm looking for a
There you go.
full-time job.
There you go. Start looking now. I'll tell you where I'd go. If I were getting out of high school and wasn't going to go on in college or look for a job, I'd go to Lily's.
My dad works at Lily's, and he said he can give me. He said he can give me an offer. Now Lily's is senior college. They're going to send me to IUPUI to get certified when I want.
Yeah, I'd go to Lily's, and if you can't do any good there, go down to Bloomington, to Baxter Manufacturing in Bloomington.
Yep.
They are enlarging. They're really growing. They're in the stent business. You've heard of stents. They put arteries in the heart and all that stuff. Well, they are really big in that, and they're really expanding. And they're another good customer of mine. And I'd check them out. Pharmaceutical industry is a good industry for you to go into. It's an expanding industry.
Does everybody not know what pharmaceutical means?
Like medicine.
Oh, everybody knows that? Okay, just checking.
Yeah.
What exactly does your company make?
Well, with Lily's, I have the only FDA-approved warehouse in the state. It's over here on the south side, not too far from here, over south side, over at Epler and 37.
Okay.
I have an FDA-approved warehouse there, and all I keep in that are materials that Lily's use in the manufacture of insulin for the human body. That's the only I keep in that warehouse. You can eat off the floors. They're cleaned daily. I mean, I'm subject to inspection any hour of the day or night by the FDA. And they do surprise you with inspections. And it's, and my other warehouse is over on North Shadeland. But pharmaceuticals are growing. They're really, it's a medical field. The medical field probably will never get any smaller.
No.
It keeps expanding. I think they keep finding more things wrong with us.
Well, we're living longer and they're finding.
Yeah, well, I'm a good example. Good example. Been around a long time.
How old are you?
How old do you think I am?
Like 78.
64.
64.
No, he said
I'd say 78.
You're saying
I'm
78?
67.
Yeah, I was thinking about
65. You graduated at 41.
I'm saying at least 81. Right?
She missed it a year.
Oh,
You did.
77? 80?
79?
79.
79.
I'd say 78.
I said 80.
That's
I'll be 80 in October.
October what?
October 2nd.
My birthday's October 3rd.
Well, if you're born in October, I know you're a good guy.
no.
That's cute.
Any of you that are researching a different board, any questions that you have for him to compare compare your war with what he experienced.
Yeah.
What are your feelings towards the Vietnam War?
Being what?
The Vietnam War.
Vietnam War.
Oh, I feel like the guys who fought the Vietnam War did a hell of a job.
Because you know some people didn't consider that like a real war.
Well, you know, I'm a past commander of American Legion, and I associate with these guys all the time from all wars. And I've never, ever heard anybody run down a Vietnam veteran. Now, I've read it in the newspapers where it's happened,
Yeah.
but they can never, and I ask people, but they can never put a finger on where they seen it or heard it. It's funny to me. It's just odd, because I just, the only thing I've ever down on veterans about, have you ever been to Washington, D.C., any of you?
No.
Have you ever been down where the wall is and so forth?
The wall with all the names on it?
Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
Well, they have a group of veterans that hang around those places begging. They don't work. And they play up big at their veterans, and you owe me this, and you owe me that. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I don't think anybody owes anybody anything. I just don't buy that. I went in because I wanted to go in, and I know a lot of guys went in because they didn't want to go in, but who owes anybody anything? My goodness, we're living in a free country, and they're just protecting it. So I don't think they owe anybody anything. But, again, that's my opinion.
That's probably the people that didn't want to go in and got drafted in, and now they feel like everybody owes them something for them
Yeah.
going.
I don't know why. I'd have been drafted if I hadn't joined. Nobody owes me anything. I owe the guys that fought with me and the guys fought war since in Vietnam, Korea, and so forth for giving me a nice free place to live. That's the way I look at it. But a lot of people don't feel that way. But we're still free, and we got the right to do the things and follow the careers we want to follow, and I suppose that's one of the reasons why wars have been fought, is to keep it that way.
Now you say nobody owes you anything. I think we owe you a thank you because we have a lot of freedoms we do for you guys, for you and the troops fighting for us.
Well, I did that because, I don't know, I like my country, that's all. And I want to keep on being free the way it is for you and me and everybody else. I don't care who they are. That's the way it is.
Are any of you guys going in service after high school?
Chris is.
Where you going? Marines, okay.
I have buddies going to the Marines.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, if you're going to be a fighting man, you might as well go to the best.
Scott's the one, aren't you the one that told me you're going to Iraq at the end of June? He's the one who already did his basic training last summer.
Oh, okay. Where at?
Abu Ghraib. Yeah, I just got to take some classes up there.
Where at?
Abu Ghraib.
Oh, okay. You haven't been to Lejeune or to regular Marine training camp then?
No, I've been to basic training. I got to go to Abu Ghraib and take some special classes for auto mechanics and to disable and arm my guns and
Yeah.
that.
You'll get the best training of anybody. I'll tell you what that much.
I'm going to be down there for 2 months, and then I get to come back for 3 months, and then I get to go back for 8 months, and then come back here for 2 months.
When you say go there, do you mean Iraq?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you'll be prepared. That's the important thing. They train you. The Marines train you well. I hauled them around in small boats to the beaches, and I'll tell you, those guys, they were disciplined. They really knew what they were there for. They did a job.
Anyone else have questions for him? Did you talk to them at all about what you did in your free time?
No,
Yeah.
oh, well, you guys are familiar with Hollywood stars. One thing I didn't tell them was I did go to the Hollywood Canteen several times. I met the Three Stooges. I sat at a table with them one night talking to them.
Are they normal?
No, yeah, ordinary guys, but they were really nice. But I met Cesar Romero, you heard that name?
Uh-uh.
The old Hollywood actor. Went on Liberty with him several times. He's a heck of a piano player. You went with him, boy, the women just poured all over you.
He said his favorite thing was Liberty when you got to go.
Well, yeah, why not? Go with a guy like that, boy, it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. But go outside to think, who else I met at that Hollywood Canteen? There's another name, I can't remember that guy's name now. He's gone now, but I can't remember his name. Met him at the Hollywood Canteen. I seen Betty Grable there once. Alan Bomber. That's about it. I mean, I seen other actors, but I don't remember who they were. That West Coast is something else. Still is.
Tell them about when the atomic bomb hit. I don't think we've talked about that.
Well, I was back in the States when that
I
happened.
know.
We were back for repairs at Terminal Island and off Long Beach. And I remember the New Jersey sitting out there. And the tidal wave created by the bomb in Japan came all the way to the shores of the United States.
What?
Yes. And we knew it was coming, they told us. And there's at Long Beach, where smaller ships are inside the breakwater, and the big ships are outside the breakwater. They're sitting out there, like in New Jersey and so forth, which happened to be sitting there at the time. And when that tidal wave came, you could see those ships go right up in the air, just like that, and come right back down again. The water went up like that, come back down. Then it hit the breakwater, and it didn't affect us much. But out there it did. You could see the ships rise, just go up and back down.
And that was near San Diego, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's like, it kind of reminds you of going through the Panama Canal. You know, the Panama Canal is not east to west. It's north to south. And there's a lake in the middle. You enter locks. They take you up 80 feet, and you go into that lake, and you go to the other end, and you hit the locks, and you go down 80 feet. Now, a lot of people don't know that. Well, when you approach the Panama Canal, if you're on a cruise or anything, be sure and get on deck and look, because you'll see ships on the lake in between the locks. They're 80 feet higher than you are. And you're approaching the canal. Here's these locks. They're going to take you up. But these ships are up there floating on the lake, 80 foot higher than you are.
What's a lock?
Channel.
It's a body of water compartment. You come in,
Big wall.
they close it off, raise the level, you go into another lock. They close it off, raise the level, you go into another lock. And you get up to where you're going to go.
It's like a machine that takes you up, or a...
Like an elevator, a water elevator.
It just starts filling up
The
with
water
water.
rises, the boat rises.
Yeah, it just starts filling up with water, and then the
Yeah.
boat gets to a certain spot, and then the door
But is it like something you actually pull in, like it's got like closed sides? Or...
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so it's interesting. If you ever want to cruise through the Panama Canal, which I went through there in the Navy, but I went through there on a cruise about 4 or 5 years ago. And in the Navy, I was always below decks when we were on the move, like in the engine room. But I got to really see all that first time because I didn't get to see it before we went through. When we went through this time on this cruise ship, we had about that much clearance on both sides to get through there. It was the largest cruise ship that had ever gone through the Panama Canal. We had about 6 inches clearance on both sides.
Is it still out? That record still today?
Huh?
That record still holds today?
Yeah, that's Princess.
Yeah.
Princess
He's a
line.
good driver.
What was it like sleeping on the ships, like in the Navy?
Well, I had on board ship, you had sleeping compartments. There's a wall. You'd have four bunk high.
Really?
And you'd have 14 inches.
14 inches, guys.
14 inches. Those that fold up against the wall. During the day, at night, you fold it down. It's canvas with a steel frame with a mattress. And you had 14 inches. You just slid in there. That's how you slept. 4 high.
No turning at all? Because there's no way you can turn.
Good.
Oh, wow.
No sleeping on your side.
You think that's bad? You think that's bad? think about a submarine, how much room they got in a submarine.
Submarine's fire.
Because in a submarine, there's no place to walk around. You walk to your bunk, to your duty spot, you walk back to your bunk, and you stay. If you're not on duty, you're in your bunk. That's the only place you got.
There's no room.
Pictures you see of these submarines today are completely different from World War II.
They call them U-boats.
U-boats were German subs.
Mm-hmm.
There's a U-boat in the museum in Chicago. If you ever want to go through, go up there and go through that. At the Science Museum, Science Industry.
I think I may have went to one of them.
That's really something to go through. Yes.
Don't they say like the insides of a submarine now is like 2 times bigger than it used to be? Like the moving room.
It's probably 5 times bigger.
Because like I know that when you used to walk through, you had to like walk at an angle to get in, and now you can walk like 2 people.
Oh
long,
yeah,
like
they're
just
enormous.
hallways.
They're enormous.
You ever visit where you was stationed at ever? Now? That you did today? Or anytime you ever go back to one of the Navy's where you're stationed at Indiana, or if there's like a place in Indiana?
No.
It's like see the new stuff they have, the big boats, ships.
I went on a sub patrol once. I got permission by captain to go on this 10-hour cruise around the Hawaiian Islands. And I got in the sub, I went on this 10-hour cruise, and I'm going to tell you, man, I didn't know I was claustrophobic until I got in that submarine. And I'll tell you, when that hatch opened and I got out of there, I swear to God, I never want another one, I'll tell you that.
Okay, any last question?
Bell's getting ready to ring.
Okay, can you show your appreciation?
Yay.
Thank you for
All right.
Whatever.
Hey, hold on. Here's my more. This is my dad, Paul Lewis, and he was in the Navy in the Pacific Ocean during World War II.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, as I told the other classes before you, 1943, I was sitting in my classroom just like you're sitting in right now. I mean, I decided I didn't want to sit in the classroom anymore, and I quit school and joined the Navy during World War II. With a promise to my parents that I'd finish my education when I which I did. Served for 3 years in the Navy in World War II and came back. They didn't have any GED program then. I had to go to Indiana University and study under 7 professors for about 6 weeks before I could complete my senior year, my last semester of my senior year. I had to test out through them. And then I got my diploma with that class of 46 instead of the class of 43. So, good experience. I left school and I went to Great Lakes. I was in basic training there, boot camp. And then the engineering school and crew school in West Virginia. And I had to go to Norfolk, Virginia for more crew schooling and gunnery practice. And they formed a crew and we were put on a train and sent to the West Coast. And there we picked up a new ship called LSM 241. This is a landing ship medium which takes equipment, supplies, and troops, and so forth. And I entered the war. If you're familiar at all, I don't know if you've ever seen Midway and the movie Midway about World War II. It's been on TV a lot. But I got into the war right after the Battle of Midway. Midway was, there's the Hawaiian Islands here. Midway was out here. Saipan, Tinian were here. Iwo Jima was here. Japan was here. Pacific. And the Battle of Midway, they wanted to take Midway, then they could attack the Hawaiian Islands. And after they got to the Hawaiian Islands, they could attack the U.S. direct. But if we stopped them at Midway and turned the war around, that's when I came into the picture. Got out there, and we were pushing the Japs back to the Marianas and Marshall Islands, the Philippines, and taking all these islands back, heading towards Japan. invasion of Saipan and Tinian, and then Iwo Jima and then Okinawa. And the Saipan, we took that island, then we went to Tinian. Tinian was a small flight island right next to Saipan, and they wanted to put a landing strip on it so they could bomb Japan's industrial sites from there directly with our B-29 bombers. And they built an airfield there in about 2 weeks, and they started taking the B-29 bombers out of there, taking runs in Japan and bombing their industrial plants and so forth there to slow them down and try to beat them in war. And then after that, we rendezvous about 650 miles from the mainland Japan. And it is part of Japan, it was. It's the first time any Japanese land has been invaded in 5,000 years. The American forces went in there. And it's only 650 miles from Japan itself. We took it. It was a bloody battle. That island was only 2.5 miles. It was 2.5 miles this way and 1.5 miles that way. No, it was. The biggest island wasn't. There was, I forgot how many casualties. Well, 25,851 American casualties on the island. Just American casualties. But you figure up, the Japanese lost, that was casualties. Of the 25,000 Americans casualties or injured, almost 8,000 were killed. So almost 1 in 3 of every man around the island was killed. Japanese had a little over 22,000 troops on that island, and all of them were annihilated. We killed them all. They would go in, a lineup would go in, and then they'd come back off, and another one would come in. I went in the second wave, and I went back out the troop ship, loaded up again, and brought the fourth wave in. When I brought the fourth wave in, the first three waves, practically all of them were dead on the beach. And the fourth wave was able to hold on behind the bodies for the first three waves. That's how they kept a hold on the island to get started, the invasion started. So that's pretty gruesome. Pretty gruesome. But that's the way it happened. The island itself, volcanic ash on the beaches, but it was a big rock. It was all rock. There's two airstrips up on top. And they had caves. I can read you this, just the way it is. There were, let me find it here. There we go. The Japanese didn't fight above ground. They fought the battle entirely from beneath the ground. They dug 1,500 rooms into the rock. They'd already done that when we came there. These were connected with 16 miles of tunnels in between these rooms. They were all below ground. And that's how we fought them. They were down, you couldn't see them. And they, with flamethrowers and grenades, that's what they had to use to get them out of there. They'd find a cave opening, and the flamethrower would be lighted up and probably throw a flame from here, maybe twice the distance of this room. And they just stand there, throw it, put it on the opening of a cave, and just hold it there. Pretty soon they come running out on fire, and they shoot. Shoot. Just like dogs. I mean, that's the way it was. It's the only way you get them out.
Father took part in the Civil War for 4 years. His name is William Riley Anderson. This Medal of Honor was awarded to him for his service in the war. This is him at age 90. We also have some museum framed and preserved pictures of the original discharges and also 2 letters from his mother. William enlisted at Greenville, Ohio. They received their oath of allegiance there and gathered in the state capitol building for the night. There were no plans to feed these men, so some women from the area just got together and made them a meal. They hadn't eaten since the previous morning, so they were really hungry. William describes the mince pie that he had eaten as the most delicious pie he had ever had. Their first enlistment was for only 90 days, because they expected the war to be over. But after 90 days, the war was really just getting started, so they had to re-enlist for 3 more years. William was a part of the 40th Ohio Regiment in the Volunteer Infantry. This was all when he was only 18. He was a part of 3 major battles: Middle Creek, Kentucky, Chickamauga, Tennessee, which is now a national monument, and Lookout Mountain, also called Battle Above the Clouds. This is where William's cousin Jonathan was killed. When they finally reached Lookout Point, there was fierce battling. He was cold and hungry, and his clothes were tattered and worn. Nearby, he found a rebel just laying on the ground dead. So he took the clothes off of that man's back and put him on himself. He also found some cheese and a chunk of bacon in the man's backpack. The bacon had a little bit of blood on it, but he cut that off and then just fixed a fire, and that was his meal for today. The Union soldiers kept moving south. When the supply lines were secure, the regiment was assigned to join General Sherman on his march to Atlanta, Georgia. William told of many narrow escapes from death and capture. They even had struggles among their own men. One night, he was forced to lay at the bottom of a pit on his left side with his back against some logs, because if he moved or showed any sign of just really even being there, his officer was going to shoot him. The fact that he laid there the whole night saved his life. There are many other stories about him, and we're going to get into a little bit of those with my interview with my grandma, Lorena Lewis. So, Grandma, what's the family connection?
Well, the family connection with William Riley Anderson is that he was my great-grandfather, and he was my dad's grandpa. And really, I remember him very well, because I was 12 years old when he died. And we used to visit him often in Auburn, Indiana, which is where he retired to once he left the farm. My brother and sister and I were really in awe of this man. He was a little tiny, excuse me, he was a little tiny old man, very old, who had a long white beard, and he was continually stroking his beard, and he was just rather an awesome, frightening figure for us, because we were so young, we were not used to anybody that was that elderly. But after he would sit and talk to us and tell us about his reminiscences of the Civil War, and when we would get ready to leave, he would kind of sit there in his rocker and rock back and forth and look at us, and then all of a sudden he'd reach in his pocket and he'd pull out, for each of us, a silver dollar. And a silver dollar meant a lot to us back then. We thought that was really some big-time money.
Mm-hmm. What are the letters about? And why was he writing them? How did you receive them?
Well, the letters and also his discharge that I have framed were given to me by my cousin, Lois Anderson, in Cherubusco, Indiana. She lived with great-grandpa for a long time. And I was telling her I was doing a report and I wanted some information, and she sent me all of this. So then I had it museum mounted to preserve it for posterity, because it is really quite interesting. These letters were just telling about his experiences in the war as he traveled in the war, the things that were happening to him, and generally keeping in touch with his home folks just as we would if we were gone.
William eventually became a prisoner of war, and he was sent down to Andersonville prison. How exactly did he end up there? What was his experiences, and where exactly is that actually?
Well, Andersonville prison is down not too far from Americus, Georgia, which is also near Plains, the home of President Carter. Great-grandpa was traveling from Tennessee and the Lookout Mountain to join Sherman's march to the sea, or march to Atlanta, when they were going to try to take over Atlanta. When he was at Lovejoy Station, which is outside of Atlanta, then he was captured, and they were taken to Andersonville Prison, which is just a very small, remote campground or prison. You have to take back roads to reach there. It's a little difficult to reach there, but it is very it isn't inspiring. It is awesome when you get there. It's hard to believe that so many men were crowded into such a small area as Andersonville. It was very, very small. There was also a line around the campground called a dead line, and if any of the prisoners would so much as step a foot over, they were shot without question. They couldn't explain why they were going across, but they immediately were shot. And even when you enter Andersonville, it's rather awesome, because it's hard to believe that men were just dumped into big graves and then they were buried in mass graves. Then the tombstones are shoulder to shoulder with scarcely an inch in between all around the park, which it is now.
Wow. What were your parents' feelings for the Civil War, and what are your feelings?
My parents just looked on it as a historical fact. They didn't pay much attention to it. I think then, in their day, everyone was more interested in World War I because the soldiers were coming home from World War I, and they didn't pay much attention to the Civil War. My feeling on the Civil War in connection with Great-Grandpa is that it made this real to me, because you read all about these happenings in history, but it doesn't really seem like it happened. They were real people. It put me in connection with my family from way back then. It's also interesting to know that so many people didn't study about the Civil War back then. And this made me feel very aware of patriotism and the fact that actually this was all real. It really did happen to real people.
How do you think this has impacted you, and how has it shaped our family?
I think with our family, it just made us feel more togetherness, and it connected us with history. Made us, as I said before, it made us very aware, very conscious that there was such a civil war at a time when brother was killing brother, dad was killing son, and it just made us know that such a thing existed.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to understand now.
It is. It's very hard to understand now. That such a war, it was such a useless war because they thought it was about slavery, but slaves, when they released them, they didn't know what to do either, and just really didn't accomplish all that much at that point in time.
Do you have any other specific stories or points of interest that you think would be good to know?
There are a lot of points of interest in the studies that I've made on the Civil War, but one of those that I find quite interesting is the fact that my great-grandpa cast his first presidential vote, or his first vote of any kind, for President Lincoln and his re-election to the presidency. And the day that they were all instructed or told or asked to vote, they gave them a great big meal, and there was a lot of celebration. They threw their hats up in the air, they threw everything in the air. They hadn't eaten so good in a long time.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of other interesting stories to tell about. We just don't have the time to do it all.
Yep. Well, thank you very much.
I'm more than happy to do that and share my knowledge with you.